All right. We'll call to order the April 2018 Visual Resources Review Board meeting for the town of Farragut. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the March 2018 meeting. Any discussion on those minutes?
I need to recuse myself because I wasn't here.
Okay. Any further discussion? Do we have a motion to accept?
I make a motion to accept the
Do we
minutes.
have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? And one recused. The next item on the agenda is the ground-mounted sign applications, and we have one for At Home moving into Parkside Drive, where Gander Mountain was.
Surprising.
Okay, this is an application for a replacement of the existing ground sign there that Gander Mountain had. It's all except for the base is being replaced. The new sign meets all of the town standards. It's very consistent with the look of the building, the color scheme on the proposed building, and also on the graphics that they're using. I've got copies of the wall sign applications that we approved for that. If you'd like to see them, to see how it's consistent with what's being proposed. But the only subject to on that in terms of approval is to increase the address numbers from
Right.
7 inches to 8 inches minimum. So staff can recommend approval of it, subject to that.
Okay. What about the landscaping around the sign? Is it remaining, or will it be
It's not very
changed?
many.
Do you know?
The plants, because there's not any on the
Yeah,
gander part.
yeah, they should enhance that.
Is that part of,
You can make that subject to that, that being done.
Okay.
because that wasn't mentioned.
No. Usually they provide a little something to show what they're going to put around
Didn't
it.
see anything.
So that would be another subject too, I would think.
As you
Yeah,
can see,
there-
Gander Mountain didn't do very much either.
Yeah, there's a,
1.5 bushes.
Well, if it did, it died, and they didn't replace it because they probably knew they were going out of
Well,
business.
flowers sure did.
Well, it looks like there's some on the ends too, like if you look at this one.
Yeah.
There's some greenery
But
around
we
each
need
end of
to
it.
have it.
at least on that other side that's still in there.
So we probably do need to make it a subject to.
Okay.
All right.
Sink.
Got it. All right, is there any further discussion on the at-home signage? Okay, do we have a motion?
A motion to approve, subject to the landscaping at the sign, ground-mounted sign.
And also increasing the letter
Oh,
size.
increasing the letters, thank you,
Or the
for
numbers?
the numbers, address.
Okay, so we have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, so on to the landscape plan applications. The first one we have is for tire discounters. Going in place, looks like in place of the current Exxon station.
Yeah.
And the tire store.
Yeah. This is a revised landscape plan from the one I think that was in your packets. They have made some changes and addressed most of staff's initial comments that were also in your packet. There are a few outstanding items that just need to be addressed and updated, so I'll review those, and any approval should really be subject to those changes. The first one is they need to add a note to the plan that all the stormwater detention is going to be underground. They are doing a bioswale for water quality purposes, but the bulk of the stormwater management will be underground. It'll be at the rear of the site. The second thing is we'd like to get a more detailed plant material layout for the bioswale area and have that in a cross-section type format. So where we could see where their soil amendments are, and the type of vegetation that they're going to put in the bioswale in a little more detail. So if if we could get that added to the plan. They need to add their visibility triangles at the entrances to the site. We'd like to see them relook at some of the plantings that they're proposing for the area that's at the north end of the property, that's under a power line easement, and sort of decrease the size of some of those. And we have some suggestions for them on species. We also need them to adjust a note on there that the replacement trees can be understory trees, but only 2 of the required 12 shade trees can be understory. So that's another little minor update that they need to put on in note form. And then one last point on this is the developer is working with the adjoining property owner that in the shopping center there with the Dunkin' Donuts to have a cross-lot access point. That's on the plan now, but in order to accomplish that, they may need to provide another access point on Campbell Lakes Way. If they do that, that will impact the bioswale area slightly, so there'll probably be, some minor modifications to this landscape plan, but they should still be able to meet all their requirements. Mark's looked at that and thinks that they can do that, and that's being worked out with that adjoining property owner. So, just wanted to let you know that there could be a minor modification to the plan if that access cut's provided.
So you're talking about if they cut in another access road, it'll be on the other side of the building from where the current access road
Yeah.
is?
The Dunkin' Donuts place?
So that would change the landscaping in that area?
Yeah, it would.
Would that require us to relook at this, or?
We didn't think so from the staff standpoint, or, because they still could meet standard. If it's something that you'd want them to bring back, that certainly you could make that subject to coming back if that goes through. But,
So that's on like the Dunkin' Donuts or, that side?
well, no, it'll be on the other side of the
It would be on the other
property.
side.
On the other side?
It'd be like right here.
Okay.
They're going to close the access, the large access cut that's currently on North Campbell Station Road. So there won't be a cut there. So, what they're proposing to do is share the access
Okay.
point
So they
there
won't
with the
cut
shopping
that.
center to the north where the Dunkin' Donuts is.
Uh-huh.
And then also provide one so people can drive across the front of those properties and come out on the adjoining side street.
Because we had that on.
And then there'd also be another access point
Some of those 2 or 3
further to the
plants
west
to do it.
on that
wouldn't it?
road.
Yeah.
Well, then that would be, the concern there would be the landscaping that you're using, especially on the corner up here between Campbell Station and Campbell Lakes.
Yeah,
Because you've got to turn right out of there, or turn left out of there, and when you're coming from the tire store, and you have to be able to see traffic that may be turning right from Campbell Station in, so that you don't. That's
That's gonna be-
close.
yeah.
So that would be my concern, is what we're landscaping on that corner, so that there is visibility there for traffic coming both directions.
And that's something that, again, they're trying to work out
Those-
with the adjoining property owner, and also they probably have to go back to the town because that cut there would probably require
That's
some
gonna be
sort of
pretty
regulatory
large, yeah.
relief because it's fairly close to the intersection.
Is there going to be a ground-mounted sign on this property?
As of right now, we don't have one
It's supposed
permitted
to have
yet,
one.
so they haven't applied for that. So, if there is, and there probably will be, it'll be coming, to you all, of course.
Well, I guess my question, would it be on that corner right there we're talking about? Because that would also hinder visibility if it is.
And if that were to happen, then we'd, probably have to have them located somewhere else on
So
the
those
site.
red
But
maple-
again,
the maples are gonna be- that's gonna,
they were in their due diligence period on acquiring the property, so they went ahead with the planning commission last week and asked that the plan be approved as presented. If they can't get the access cut to the adjoining property to where the Dunkin' Donuts site, shopping center is, they could get by with only one access point, but they would prefer to have the cross lot, and in working with the adjoining property owner, I think one of the things he would like to see is is another cut there so that his traffic wouldn't have to circulate behind their building, but could come straight across. So that's all sort of pending, so really what you're being asked to look at right now is that plan. And then if there are changes, if you'd like to see that come back to you, it's certainly within your purview to ask for that.
That was going to obstruct it.
Okay.
Those are red maples that are there, where you were talking about. So that is going to be that's,
Those two trees are.
On that corner?
Ori maple.
Yeah.
Yeah, October
Yeah.
corner. I mean, they're
so they
pretty
are
big
going to have.
trees right there in the corner.
That's something we're going to have to.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
beautiful and they're pretty, but where they're going to be located, if they're.
If that becomes a cutout, that's what you're saying. Those are going to be big and obstruct the view. So that would be a problem to have them there, I would think.
They're so pretty, and they could switch them for, in the back, do something else with them.
Sure.
It was a great selection, but if.
And if you all feel more comfortable with, that large of an amendment coming back to you, that's fine
I
too. You
hate to
can
do
make
that
it,
too now,
subject to,
really.
that change coming back to you if they get that additional access point.
It sounds to me like there's too many things up in the air with that to approve it right now. But you
Well-
said the other committee did approve it?
Approved it as submitted, and if they don't acquire the shared access point to the Dunkin' Donuts sites, and they only have one for right now, and so they'll have to amend their site plan as well if they get that additional cut. So
It sounds like we can approve what is submitted at this point based on what we see here, but we would put a subject to that if the plat changes or the site plan changes or whatever's happening, I think we would want to at least see how that impacts that new exit entrance there in that corner.
Could you email that to us if it's soon, so that we'll not hold them up in it, let us know by email and we can, since we've already discussed it or talked about it, or would you want us to wait till the next meeting?
I think it would be important to express our concerns to them
That's true.
if they do get the access right there. That I'm just concerned about
Me too.
visibility, because someone coming off Campbell Station could turn right into there very quickly, and then someone coming out of the tire could be turning left. And I mean, that would be
point. So
a very difficult thing, and so I think that would be my concern if they get that cut out of there.
I think it's a good idea.
And I guess to a certain extent, you could have that same issue over on the other side of the property where the Dunkin' Donuts is, depending on as you're pulling out of there too. I don't think it would be as bad, but you could
Right.
have
It's
an
always
issue there.
Hectic trying to get out of that Dunkin' Donuts making
Yeah.
a left.
It is. It is.
We had a meeting a long time ago about doing like a back.
It'd almost be nice if there was a second road out of there.
We
I was
talked
gonna
about.
say it may help that.
Looking at the map here, and I'm just thinking that would actually help the traffic coming out of
Years
Dunkin'
ago,
Donuts.
someone had recommended, I don't know what happened to it. Do you remember that? Years ago? Isn't there like a hotel or something behind
There's a
there?
hotel behind there.
Yep.
And
yep,
that was, remember how they wanted to do that?
That's
to
right.
where it
yeah.
would, the flow would be for everybody. And we agreed to that, but then nothing ever happened.
That may be when the Dunkin' Donuts development was coming in. It may have been when that was going
But
on.
nothing, the access
didn't
never
work out.
occurred.
Yeah, didn't
And
work
that
out.
would help that hotel, it would help everybody if you had that in the back.
I think it would help. I just think we would need to really be careful of what planning
Yeah.
is there if it is added.
That was, I don't know what year it was, but we did have that
I would
to
agree.
where the hotel wanted to have, so that it would have access to like a red light or something.
I'm just looking at the map here. If you were to take that road where you turn into Dunkin' Donuts straight back to the hotel, I mean,
That's
that,
what they were wanting to do.
and then you could come right out here on, to Campbell Lakes, that would alleviate so much
That's what
traffic.
they were wanting to do, if I remember correctly, years ago, but I don't know what, we agreed to it.
We
but
don't, we're not here to plan that one, but I'm just looking at, boy, that would make traffic
I
so much
know.
easier getting out of there.
I know it.
Yeah.
unfortunately, the software where I can draw on this to show you where they want it is not working tonight. So, but it'll be, it would be a straight across the front of their building and tying back in is if it works out.
So,
Okay, so subject to, if that change occurs, you would like the plan to come back for
Yes.
further review, so that's fine. And
I
then-
think we
and then-
would.
And then let them understand that we would quickly
Yes,
look at
it's
it
not-
and approve it. That we don't want to hold up
For
their
their safety
progress.
and others.
And the concern being especially those two trees that would hinder.
Yes.
And if those two trees were not on the plan at all, would they have their tree count, or do they need to move
yeah.
those trees somewhere else?
Fairly tight on their count, so that, they'll have to, they'll have to
They
be
could
looking
do
on
it
what
in
to
the
do on
back.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
or either, we could just move them over.
Yeah, they might want to move them around. That would be, I think,
Mm-hmm.
either way, they may want to move those around.
Yeah.
Because visibility through there on Campbell Station is difficult anyway. And if those cause visibility issues just to the building, it might hinder their business, so, just a thought.
And if they want a ground-mounted sign, that's about, looking at the space up front, the setbacks,
Right,
that's
put it-
probably about the only place to put a ground-mounted sign.
Right. Okay.
So we're tabling this
So,
one.
subject to that and the other,
We can approve it subject
Subject
to
to that.
all these things that he listed, plus
And then come back with that, or.
coming back to it if the site plan
We're
changes.
tabling that part of it, yeah, tabling.
you re-review those 5 items, or do you have them?
I think I marked as,
So you can.
from
do
our
it.
list,
Okay.
was items 5 and 8 through 11
8 through 11.
list.
That's what I have.
Is there any further discussion on this one?
No, but you can handle it.
All right. Well,
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve it, subject to including a note about stormwater detention being underground, including a plant material layout for the area within the bioretention area, adding the visibility triangles, reviewing again the trees that are under the high voltage overhead utility lines. And then the last one
Understory
on the
trees.
lot coverage, on the 12 shade trees required and the understory trees. And then actually the last one would be subject to a review again if the site plan changes. And included with that would be reviewing the trees that are on that corner with Campbell Station and Campbell Lakes Drive because of the visibility issues that would cause, as far as moving those to some other place. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so the next item is the landscaping plan for the Station West redevelopment as well. Right across the street, basically.
A lot happening on that.
And again, as we were discussing before the meeting, just briefly, this is a redevelopment project for the westernmost building in the Station West development. They're going to be taking the building out and completely replacing that building. And as part of that project, they're making changes to the parking area, somewhat to the access provision. They're going to narrow the drive or the cut that's out onto Station West Drive, which will be a nice addition. And then most of the islands you see there with landscaping being added or will all be new. There'll be some landscaping between the buildings now because there will be a drive-through through there. It is certainly bringing the site into or much closer to compliance. It's still a non-complying site, but it's a lot closer to compliance than it is. And they're actually going to the Board of Zoning Appeals tomorrow night for a use on review or a special exception to deal with the non-conforming issue of the parking area. And they're also asking for some variances regarding the provision of sidewalks because of some of the topography, particularly on the north side there on Campbell Lakes Way. It's would be very impractical to put a sidewalk over there. So those actions are going to before the Board of Zoning Appeals tomorrow night. But they did want the landscape plan looked at tonight. We did ask to have some changes made, and Annette Hommel's here if you have any questions. She's the designer on it. In terms of changing out some of the trees under the power line there, and she's changed those to red buds and winter king hawthorns. And she's also apparently looking to substitute some native species in elsewhere where it's possible, and I don't know if you want to speak to that or not. Yeah.
I guess the question I have would be similar to what we just talked about with the other side, and that is these entrance points on both sides of the property, especially the one down at Station West. What will the visibility be like? It looks like some of the things are going to overhang the visibility triangle. Will that obstruct being able to see as you pull in and out of there?
They should be higher, so the sight line across should be okay. But but I'll let Annette.
Well, it's kind of hard to read what's there, so.
Annette Hummel, Site Incorporated, 10215 Technology Drive. On the west side of that Station West driveway, I'm showing a tree, and it'll be limbed up high enough
To where it's not going to block it.
to where
Okay.
it won't block visibility. On the other side, there's an existing hemlock tree, and I believe it's already limbed up.
Okay. All right. And on the other side, on the north side, are those, I can't read what those
Red
are.
buds over there.
Okay,
RB, so that's,
right here.
those are RBs too, RB and RBs.
Okay.
One of the things the Board of Zoning Appeals is going to be looking at tomorrow night is they're on Station West Drive. They're proposing to bring the sidewalk, that runs across the front on North Campbell and wrap it around and bring it down the side and connect it into the parking. We're looking at an alternative to where, the possibility may exist to narrow the pavement width a little bit on Station West and then to continue that sidewalk further on east down the site, and that's something that Board of Zoning Appeals is going to be looking at.
Okay.
So that could change a little bit of that in that area, but that's again pending the Board of Zoning Appeals action.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes tomorrow, I guess. It'll be a significant improvement over the existing site, though.
You were saying earlier about some native plants maybe doing some replacing, or?
They're looking at that. They've done a little bit of it, and they're looking for some species that would work in some of the areas. I think you're a little concerned about dry conditions and
Right, right.
and some things, but
I just want to make sure I get a plant in there that's not going to die or that's
Sure.
not going to struggle. So
Sure.
I will definitely work with y'all on
Okay.
maybe swapping out some of what I'm showing around the building shrub-wise for something native.
Okay.
you printed
Some of the
this out.
smaller different things, okay.
So when you say in here that the site doesn't comply with town's landscaping provisions, do we know what areas exactly, how far off we are from meeting
well,
provisions?
in some areas the parking goes virtually to the property line, so you don't have those areas, and that's an existing condition. I don't have exact calculations for what would be off, but most of the islands you see there across the front are all being added. The parking area there on the north side of the proposed building, Right now, that's just a sea of asphalt, so, that reconfiguration of the parking and that internal island is all being added. Also, the drive-through that's being put through behind, you can see there's going to be some additional landscaping put in there, so exactly how out of compliant it is, I don't know, but right now, it's essentially a sea of asphalt.
I think we've pretty much added landscape islands where we need to add landscape islands. What's most non-conforming is going to be the setbacks around the site.
Yeah.
We're not meeting that because it's there, so.
Replacing asphalt with trees.
So we've cut out islands that would meet the standards. It's just the setbacks we're pretty much not meeting.
Sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
And then around the building, because I don't think there's really anything around the building now. All
Nope.
of that is
It's a.
added around it too,
Yeah,
right?
it's an
So-
overhang right
yeah.
now with a sidewalk underneath it. And there are no shrubs around the front of the building. There are two islands in front of the building at either corner. I think one has a flagpole in it and one has a dead tree in it, so.
Yeah, it's right, yeah.
Going to be a major change.
So all
Yeah.
of that's an improvement,
This
that's
is
what
a
I
huge
meant.
improvement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So will the sign that's on that property also be coming down and
As
changing?
far as I know, it's staying there.
Are you kidding?
I don't know. I mean, they may change it, but that's not been a part of what I've done so far. So
Okay,
I don't know the answer to that.
okay.
Whoa. That's a surprise. I thought that they had to, but you're right, unless if they start to, they're grandfathered in until they have to. But won't they though have to? Because it's going in.
I guess that's for another agenda item.
I've not heard any discussion on it. That doesn't mean there hasn't been some discussion on
All
it,
right.
so.
Okay,
And we don't have a plan on it at this point in time, so.
But once they start to change, even though it's grandfathered in, if anything has to be added, then that's when it gets changed, correct? Okay, so eventually.
okay. All right. Is there any other discussion on this landscaping plan? Okay, if there's no further discussion, do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve?
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I second it.
Motion and second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the last item on the agenda. Bart, unless you have something else we need to cover this evening? All
So
right.
it was a fast one.
Well, then that will be it
Thank
for
you,
this
ma'am.
month.
Do you-
Thank you very much.
Okay. It was a little easier to see, especially this one. It
Oh,
was
man.
Oh, gosh. I had,
It's so hard to see the last